Welcome back to part two, my friends. Here we are. We've done this so far, all in a very short space of time. I think it looks very, very nice, don't you? I especially love this little area here. It's very eye-catching, isn't it? It's amazing how a couple of lights and a couple of darks can just really bring something to life, isn't it? So, look, we're going well. We're going to continue on and do this lovely little boardwalk here, and the fisherman sitting on the edge. Isn't that lovely? So what I'm going to do is, I have my same colours. I added some cadmium red. I have a small flat brush. Let's start painting. I'm excited to paint this. This is going to, I hope, look very well. So, if you look at the reference photograph, you will see down the side of this walkway here, we have a lovely kind of a deep blue, don't we? So let's mix up a little colour for that. I'm going to start with some phaylo blue. And look, as I keep saying, you can keep this keep this your own. You don't have to go to all these little details if you don't wish, but you can just put a nice dark colour in there. It's up to you completely, but you don't have to overcomplicate this part of the painting. So you see now I'm starting with a deep blue here, and I'm going to keep the end of this upright. So I'm just going to put a line like that, okay, and then come back at an angle. Remember, when painting something like this, you always keep your vertical lines completely vertical and your horizontal lines completely horizontal, okay? It can be tricky to do, but just take your time. Take your time, that's what I'll say. I'm taking some burnt umber and magenta. I'm going to pop some burnt umber and magenta into here, just at the back. And this is quite wet. This is not a very thick mix. It's very, very wet, very thin. And I'm going to then take some black into that blue colour. I'm just going to darken this area. I generally find it easier to start with thin colours and work my way up to a thicker colour. I just think it's much easier to control your paint as it's going on. It makes it much, much easier, I find. Now, so that looks good. Now that looks very black on camera. It's actually a dark blue. I can see it here. I'm going to take some magenta and burnt umber, thick on the brush, and I'm just going to pop it in and start darkening this section here. Just start darkening. And what I'm doing is really just kind of creating texture, the impression of wood coming downwards like this. Remember, vertical, okay? Your lines must be vertical like this. And I'll do the same up on this side because it's almost black up there. We have a nice kind of a light blue spot just in the middle, kind of a highlighted spot. So already I can see that looks quite nice, doesn't it? Now I'll take a little white, pop it into that colour there. Let's take some magenta. The magenta always helps keep colours warm. If you're going for a warm kind of a shadowy colour, little magenta, you see, it just really brings it out, doesn't it? That's quite nice, I like that. And I'll pop a little bit down just here and there as well. It's just really for a bit of colour for the eye to move around on the canvas, you know. You can see all these little colours. Now I've a little bit of black and burnt umber, and I'm going to bring that colour actually down into the reflection, look. And I'm going back over the reflection slightly. So what I want is the effect of this kind of merging together down at the bottom. That kind of effect. So it's kind of difficult to tell where one begins and the other one finishes. So I just want to get that kind of effect, that's all. So I'm just sort of bringing the colours together. Then I go maybe with just neat black on its own. Pop a little black in here. Bring it across, and a little bit of black on the side as well. And just, you see, I'm kind of just scraping it, little flicks with the brush, just adding little touches of impression of detail. That's what I'm kind of trying to go for. Now that's good enough. I'm not going to do any more. I'm happy enough with that. The next thing we want to do is the top. And again, this is fairly simple stuff. You know, just take your time. It's all about the direction of your brush strokes. That's all I will say. I'm going to try some burnt sienna. Little touch of thinners, again, just a slightly wet mix to help it go along. And I'm going to take some burnt umber as well. So I generally kind of start with a mid-tone like this, and perhaps a touch of black. Let's just have a look at this now. Okay, now I'm happy enough with that as a mid-tone. So I'm going to start up here. Remember, we're going completely horizontal with this, like so. And just scrape your brush side to side. When you get to the point where you think you're happy, then you turn it and bring it back at an angle. And also, remember, it's rising as it comes backwards towards us. It's getting bigger and bigger. So give it a nice high line back here, look. And let's just fill that in. A lot of people find this part tricky, getting the lines right. But just take your time. If you have to practice on a piece of paper, practice. But just take your time and don't do the filling in until you're absolutely sure that you're happy with the lines that you have. That's what I would say. Now, we could probably even go a little bit wider. I'm going to take some Naples yellow with the burnt sienna. We could even go a little bit wider up here, I think, just to make it that little bit fuller, I suppose. Make it look nice and full. There we go. Now let's go for some cadmium yellow as well. I'm going nice and thick now, just thick paint on this. And that will really help me cover that kind of greeny colour in the water. And it doesn't have to be completely straight either, look. It doesn't have to be. Because we have lots of different boards on this. So it's quite old, and you know, don't go the other way to try and make it absolutely perfect. So I have my basic shading done. The next, my apologies. The next stage is lots of bright colour. And for that I'm going to use cadmium yellow, Naples yellow, and a touch of cadmium red, and a little white. That should give us a nice bright shade, shouldn't it? And a very important part of this, very important, when you're painting boards like this, a lot of people are tempted to go like this, like, okay, as you're going along, and that's not the way to do it. What you need to do is keep it nice and horizontal again. Remember, you're following the original line up here, so if this is horizontal here, then all of these will be horizontal as well, okay? Do you understand what I mean? And it just really gives you proper perspective. So here, for example, I'm going to bring this right back like this, look. So you get the idea. You kind of understand what I'm trying to do here. It's all about your lines and getting your lines just right. A little bit of yellow, a little bit of white. And you may think it looks a little bit strange to begin with, but honestly, when you sit back and take a good look, you will see the difference it makes. Already you can begin to see it, can't you? So we're getting that perspective now just right. We're trying to get it just right on this. Now I'm going to go with white and then lots of cadmium yellow. I really want this to be really sort of in the sunlight, if you know what I mean. And maybe a touch of cadmium, tiniest little touch of cadmium red, just to tone it down a little. I want all of this area to be really highlighted. And don't worry about your little details. You can use a fine brush to get your little details in later on. Little dark lines and all that kind of thing. You can even use a palette knife as well, if you wish. Will we try it? Just to show you how easy it can be. Let's take some Naples yellow, little cadmium yellow, and perhaps a touch of cadmium red. and then lots of white. Let's just try this and show you. I just want to show you what I mean with the palette knife. Rather than trying to get it right with your brush, you can just try this way with the palette knife, okay? We have a nice warm kind of a yellowy mix here. You can just go like this. And just ever so carefully then, just drag the palette knife right across horizontal, you see? And that's actually creating little textures on the boards and all that kind of thing. It's giving you texture if you're worried about using a brush. Can you see the difference? So that's just another way you can do it if you wish. If you're a little nervous with the brush, this is a lovely way of doing it. Now I'm going to try some cadmium yellow and burnt sienna. That's a nice bright sunlit colour as well. And simply just kind of mix that through the rest of your colours, look. But just always remember you're going horizontal. Just try to keep it nice and horizontal and straight. Now finally, I think to really capture the brightness of the sun, some cadmium yellow on its own. Now I do have a little bit of green in this by accident, but it's fine. It's no big deal. I'll just clean my brush on my palette knife and go back into some normal cadmium yellow, touch of Naples perhaps, and you can just use this to really capture the sunlight hitting the boards. And I think finally I need some white. Just some bright white on its own. I can see it's very bright down at this area down here. And this is building up lots of thick paint as well on the boardwalk, so it's creating lovely texture, which is what you want, lots of texture. I want this to really feel like you can actually, you know, put your hand over the timber and feel the timber. That's the kind of feeling I want to get. Now I'm moving to a small detail brush because, actually no, I go to a slightly larger round brush. This lovely little black stump coming up here is quite nice. I think it adds a little bit of interest to the painting. So let's pop that in, a little bit of turpentine, some burnt umber, and let's go over to around here. Look, let's just make up a point and go around here. I'm not really concentrating on the reference photograph too much, only for little shapes and things like that. Okay, a little bit coming out there. That's fine, that looks absolutely fine. A little bit of black then. It's all about gradient in painting. You know, you can have a solid colour, it's fine, but if you just add a little touch of, say, black like this down towards the bottom, it just helps. And I know it just looks kind of like a black where you're from, where you're looking on camera, but there's a bit of brown going through there as well. Also, we have a little bit of burnt sienna and some burnt umber. We have a couple of nice ones coming up at an angle here, so we might as well pop them in. Again, that's just adding more interest into the painting. So I'll always start with kind of a mid-tone, we'll say. So like a burnt umber now with burnt sienna, that's quite a nice mix. And I start with that and then add darker colours through it. Now this could be anything over here, just a bit of wood, we'll have a bit of rope perhaps coming off of it, that kind of thing. Then I'll take some burnt sienna with Naples yellow, and let's just add a little touch of light across the top of this. You see that? A little bit of sunlight hitting that. And if you look on the reference photograph, there's a the front face here is slightly brighter. And you would assume it's going to be darker in shade, but for some reason it's just a bit of a brightness there. And then I'll just take a little bit of dark, a little bit of black. And as again, I'll just add a little bit of gradient into this, just here and there. And it's really just, I suppose, it's about just, you know, capturing some of the lights here and there. That's all it's about. Little bit of light down here, maybe one or two up on top, catching the sunlight. And it's those small little details which are quite simply done. You know, it's just a little bit of a wiggle of a brush. It's those small details that will, at the end of the painting, capture your eye, just draw your eye in. Now, we have a couple of nice light ones as well. I'm going to use Naples yellow with some burnt sienna, and maybe some little ropes or something, I don't know. Could be anything. You see, just it could be bits of anything. It doesn't have to particularly have a function or be a particular object. It can just be anything. Now, a little bit of black, and pop a little bit of black in here and there. And then I'm going to start using this black now with some burnt umber and just start creating some of those fine lines on the actual boardwalk itself. So between some of the boards, for example, I'm going to go in under here and put a nice thick line just across like that. So we're going to start creating some separation in the boards, just a little bit, not too much. You don't have to go absolutely crazy with all of this, but look, just one or two here and there, and clean your brush each time, because every time I paint on one of these, I'm picking up little bits of that yellow. So just a quick rub on some tissue in between, and that just it stops it all getting very messy, if you understand what I mean. We also have the edges of the boards, which I'm just going to use some burnt umber to just kind of put a little dab along the edges like that, you see. You could use some sienna as well. It's good to use just a mix of colour in this. Warm and cool browns and blacks. That really helps. So I just go along like this. And you can begin to see slowly things are just kind of coming to life, aren't they? But for me, it's about that brightness, that sunlight catching on this. That's what it's about for me. I love that. That's what really kind of catches my attention in this painting. Now I'm going to just go into some neat black on its own, and just here and there where they turn, just pop one or two very loosely, just with some thick paint. We just need to create the impression of lots of little boards. You see, that's all it is. That's not bad now so far, is it? I'm quite happy with that. Now, since we're using our pointy brush, you can, if you like, use some titanium white and some cadmium yellow, and just pop in one or two very bright spots with your brush as well. And you might find this a little tricky because it's a lot of thick paint on the canvas, but just a couple of little splashes of that bright white just here and there. Again, just to accentuate the sunlight hitting this on a very bright, nice sunny day, you know what I mean? Let's just have a bit of fun, come on. I think that's all right. I'm going to stop at that. Then we do have a little light popping through here and there, just on the edge. See down the bottom edge, just along the edge of that. A little bit of sunlight popping through down here. And it's only the tiniest little bit. I'll just clean my brush now just to make sure I have nice clean paint on my brush. And a little bit of yellow in here now as well. Like so. And you can see it kind of looks quite almost, there's a little bit showing through over here as well. Like that. And with little highlights here and there. Again, really just creating some interest in the painting, you see. Just little bits of pieces that are kind of just popping up here and there but disappearing into the darkness. Okay, I'm just softening it through with my finger. It just adds a little bit of interest. That's all I'm about with this painting. Using little things to create interest. Now I'm going to just go back into some black and, I don't know, maybe just add a few little touches around here and there. Could be little ropes or something coming down. And small little details just along the side of this. So just pop a little bit of black through there. Now what I'm doing here is really just putting a few marks in to suggest, just to suggest detail. I'm not focused on trying to paint, you know, individual little pieces. It's just really about adding a few little marks just to get the mind flowing, and, you know, it's opening your eyes to different little things along the way as you look around. Does that make sense? Just small little things. We're ready to move on to this lovely man, I think. Let's start this man sitting on the edge. This may be a little tricky. I need to get some sienna. Now you can leave it like this if you wish. It's perfectly fine as it is, as a painting. But this person here sitting, I think it's just really, really nice. It just creates a beautiful focal point in the painting. So I'm just going to paint it anyway. Let's go. I'll take some cadmium yellow pale and some burnt sienna with some white. Little tiny bit of turpentine just to help the paint move around a little bit more. You see, burnt sienna, cadmium yellow. Let's start. So I'm going to pick a point around here, let's say, okay? Now I'm going to go up and paint the side of the man here, like so. And this is going to be tricky now to get the scale just right. His arm kind of comes out a bit like that, doesn't it? I don't want to make this too small, I don't want to go too big, so I'm kind of being a little bit cautious. But it is much bigger than this, isn't it? So it goes right up like that. I'll go up a bit more. I'd rather make it slightly bigger than slightly smaller because it might look a bit funny if it's slightly smaller. So let's go, start with the waist. Look, let's bring the waist across like this. And then bring his jacket up like that. I'm not the best at painting people now, I'll be quite honest. I don't like to pretend I can paint something when I can't. So I'm always very honest. If I can't do something, I will say I can't do something. And filling in the shadowed area comes down like that, doesn't it? I'm not particularly good at painting figures and people, stuff like that. I just never have been, to be quite honest. It's one of my biggest failings in painting, regrettably. I wish I had the patience to study painting people a lot more. I wish I did, but I don't, unfortunately. You know, it's just one of those things. We're good at some things and not at others. That's the way I see it. You can't be brilliant at everything, can you? Let's put in the arm. So I'm just going to go a little bit like that and around. Okay. And this may look completely different from your perspective now. And quite possibly is. But look, we'll suffer on and see what happens. A little bit of Naples yellow there with the black. Make a nice kind of a medium grey. Coming down onto the board there. Let's get some black with a little bit of sienna, a little bit of magenta, a little bit of blue. I'm basically kind of playing around with colours at this stage. Just trying different things. And it's actually very black along here, isn't it? But you can there's still a bit of a separation there in the colours. Let's go along here, and then it comes out at a bit of an angle, doesn't it? And then it comes across. Like so. His jacket tends to kind of merge almost into his pants, doesn't it? A little bit. It might be better if it just sort of merged in just a little bit. I think that would help. Then we have the arm on the other side. I'm going to mix a deep kind of a purple, I think, for that. Magenta, phaylo blue. I think a deep purple might work a little bit better. So I'm going to start up here and come out at an angle, and then come back in like that. I'll do a little bit of purple over on this side as well. Okay, we're kind of getting there. We're building it up nice and slowly. One thing I notice with some beginners especially is they just go straight into it and they just rush certain parts of the painting, and it's, you know what, it's good to just take your time and put on little bits at a time, because it would make all the difference. It really will. So now I'm going to start adding some more black down here. Softening the colour through. That's the great thing with oil paintings, because you can soften colours in really nicely. Now let me stop for a moment to take a look. It's not bad. It's, you know, I know the leg is maybe a little bit long, but we'll get over that. That's okay. I'm happy enough. Not to worry. It's just a painting, my friends. Let's just enjoy. And I love sitting here talking to you, because sometimes I feel like you're just sitting right next to me, which is nice. And I think that's a nice way to be in painting. I just think, you know, having a feel like you're sitting right next to me makes a big difference. And sometimes I just tell myself that you're all just in the same room. We're doing a bit of painting. It's nice and relaxed, nice relaxed atmosphere, I find. So a little bit of light here, and then we're going to soften that light down into the colours underneath. Now you can see as well, it's kind of picking up some of the greens and stuff underneath, but that's fine. It's absolutely fine. I'm going to go with some Naples yellow, because Naples yellow will always knock out colours, because it's so thick and pasty. It will knock colours out if they're kind of mixing a bit too much. So Naples yellow will always help like that. It's a lovely colour to have. Then I'm going to mix a very soft blue. Let's go for a kind of bluey mauve. A little white. Just for the opposite side. So with the shadow, you can see there's kind of a shadow on this side, but it's a sort of a bluey kind of a shadow, isn't it? And we can then use that to sort of pick out little details. Small details. Now I'm going to darken one side of the jacket. So again, you see, it's all about the gradient, isn't it? You see the way I'm kind of just adding little darks into it, just here and there, without kind of making it too dark, I suppose. Just adding little bits in as you go. A little bit of black. You can pop a little bit of black in there just to make his jacket look like, sort of like a leather jacket, I suppose. There's little hints of darkness on that as well. And it's coming. It's coming there. It's getting there. It's coming to life a little bit. Some burnt sienna, cadmium red, perhaps a touch of yellow. And I just want to warm this section down here. There's a lovely warmth down there, which I want to bring into the jacket, or his coat, I suppose you could call it. Where the sun is probably reflecting off of that boardwalk and onto his jacket. Does that make sense? Just a little bit of warmth down there, look, and tiny bit here as well. A bit of cadmium red, we go a good bit in helping us getting a nice warm feeling as well. A bit of cadmium red, and all these little colours are just intermixing and they're really helping us along. Now we have a little bit of a dark up here. I might go to my fine pointy brush for the rest of this. If I can find it, that is. Where did I put my little pointy brush? Here it is. I'm going to go into some burnt umber and just start adding little shapes onto the jacket. Make it look like that kind of ruffled effect. Just burnt umber on its own. Maybe a little hint of burnt sienna, actually. You can see we have some nice areas where it just looks like it's creasing, I suppose is the word. Some little creases. And we have a big crease then coming down here where it goes into this section. Now I want to just start dabbing the light together, the light parts into the dark parts. Look, very gently, because I don't want to end up with a load of little sharp lines. I want it to sort of merge together ever so gently. And I think finally I need some bright white, maybe a touch of cadmium yellow as well. I want to catch the light right up on top up here. So you see, you can achieve something like this if you just really take your time and you know, give yourself a chance. I find it's about just giving yourself a chance. You can do it. You just need to have a little bit of confidence in yourself. And don't be afraid of making a mistake, because that's how we learn. That's how I learn. I've made plenty of mistakes in my time, loads of mistakes. But that's how I learn for the next painting. so to speak. And I'm going to pop a little touch of that nice cadmium yellow with white on top of his legs over here. And I can even use the little bit of purpley colour that we mixed earlier for some lights on his trousers as well. So these little areas, you see, it's giving us little deep shades as well. We get some nice rich dark blue in here. And how's that? Well, I don't think that's too bad at all. I'm quite pleased with that. I'm going to move on to his head. And it's amazing how fast now this all came together, isn't it? I'm going to try some burnt umber. No, I was going to try burnt umber. I'll try some black. Let's take a little black. And simply paint what you see. Now let's try the hat first. The hat has a bit of an angle, doesn't it? Okay, like that. Maybe a bit higher. And then it comes around and just comes down like this, doesn't it? That's where the shade is under the hat. Okay. Then we have the top section of his hat. We'll go for a slightly lighter colour. It's sort of a mix, this colour, it's a mix of kind of a pink with a bit of blue look in there. I'm going for a kind of a shady colour. And I'll go up like that, and down like that, and down. So I'll start with this colour, then I'm going to add some dark into this, bit of black. And just start darkening it down a little, just a little. Then we have the nice bright white again, that yellowy white. Let's grab that and let's go. Just looking at the reference photograph now, nice and carefully. A bit of turn on the top and then it comes down a little bit like that, doesn't it? Then we're going to put a little bright piece just along there like that. And I'm going to add a tiny touch of black then. Now it might look a little big, but I am. I'm just going to darken underneath that hat. So how's that looking? Not bad. It's not bad, I don't think. I need to make a nice purple just for the shadow from the hat. We have a nice shadow coming down like that, okay? There we go. And I might just, as I'm here, add a little touch of detail, maybe, onto the hat here. Just a tiny touch. I can see tiny little details, like for instance, a few black little lines going across. And as I said, it's only just the tiniest little bit. Next we have this lovely fishing rod. Actually, I forgot something. So as you're looking around, you're going to notice little things that you may have forgotten. So for example, just on the outside of his arm here, a little bit of light there, and also the other side. So do you see those little things I forgot? A little bit of light just coming along. Like that. Maybe add a little touch of light into the arm as well. Now if you find that it's maybe a little severe around this area, you could just soften it together very gently. You see? Just dab it with the brush, soften it all together. If you think it's a little bit overdone, so to speak, I'm going to take a little bit of burnt umber, just pop a little bit of burnt umber in here, just to darken it ever so slightly. And then I'm just going to, again, add a little bit of that bluey colour on the side down here, because that gives you a lovely impression of a kind of a highlighted shadow, those blues. Just a little. I'm pleasantly surprised and happy with this. Quite pleasantly surprised, I must say. Now, we have a little, you see, these little tiny details make all the difference. You see, they just make all the difference in the painting. Just flatten that out just a little bit there. It's almost merging together. We must paint this man's fishing rod, don't we? Right, this is where we need to be careful. Fishing rod. I don't want to make a mess of this, so a nice fine point on my brush, and I'm going to go from here. I'm going to go up like that. Maybe a tiny touch higher. You see, that's the trickiest part about painting a straight line like this. Now you could use something like a credit card or something and dab it. That's another way of doing it. But I'm very kind of old school. I like to do things by hand. A couple of little of the eyes just there. And then finally, we need just something for the fishing line. So perhaps a tiny strip of white. Very tiny amount of white. And I must get some new pointy brushes because they're not the best, I'll be quite honest. Like that. And then simply, now should we go higher with the rod? I don't know, should we or should we not? Let's put a little highlight. Just there. And we could just leave it swoop down. Very carefully off into the distance, look. Very carefully, just like that. How's that? I'm going to leave it for now and just move on to the reflection of this man in the water. And then, my friends, we're almost done, realistically. I'm just going to go like this, okay? I'm going to leave some little gaps here and there. Let's go for some black. with a bit of magenta. And we have this side over here then coming along. And we'll fill this in. I know you're probably worried when you're doing this. You're thinking to yourself, I'm going to mess everything up. All my hard work is going to be messed up. But sometimes you just have to go for it, because if you sit and worry too much about making a mess on something, you'll be so nervous that you may make a mistake and never be happy with what you have. That can happen. So what I do is I just go for it, basically. I try not to think too much about it. I just go for it. So I'm just going to go like this, and then just for the head, a little bit like that, look. Now I'm going to bring some of those reflections out as well, almost meeting up. So how has this come along now so far? I think it worked quite nice. I'm pretty happy with the result. Obviously there are going to be little things that you may not like about the painting, but I think, I mean, even for a tutorial, it worked out quite nice. I'm quite happy with this, I have to say. So I'm just going to soften some of the brush strokes away now, just to make it look nice and sort of flat. It's supposed to be a nice deep dark reflection. How about that? I think all I need to do is just add some nice bright white going through that just here and there. Could even use a touch of blue, perhaps. Look, let's try a touch of blue. Nice whitey blue, just kind of popping in and out of it just here and there. You see, just like that. Maybe a little bit just there. Another little bit there and a bit there. Really only just to break up the reflection just a little bit more. That's all it is. Let me get another touch of that blue. That's nice. I like that. That nice little bit of blue that was there. And yeah, we're on the home run, my friends. We're almost there. You could even just call that finished. But I'd say what I'm going to do now is start fiddling and messing with this and end up making a big mess. Because sometimes I just don't know when to stop. Okay, one last thing I'm going to do is get some rich thick black and just add some thick black along this just here and there. Again, I want to go nice and dark with this black area in here, because that black area will really catch your eye and make those lights stand right out. Now, how are we looking so far? And I must say, I am pleasantly surprised. So you see, if you take your time, you can achieve a nice painting, but you have to be patient. All right, my friends? Try to be a little patient. when you're painting. It's not going to happen immediately, is what I'd say. You know, you have to give yourself a chance. Just take it nice and slowly, adding little things bit by bit as you go along. Bit of Naples yellow, for example, look, just to maybe suggest some highlights from something. And then let's just taper these little highlights off into the distance, just a little. And how's that? And I'm going to call it finished, my friends. I am done. I am finished. I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. I hope I didn't drag this out too much. I hope you didn't get bored. That's the last thing I want. But I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you learned something from it. Because that's my goal, is to help you learn. That's all I wish to do. So there we go, my friends. I'm kind of doodling now, really, to be quite honest, and I shouldn't be doodling. I'm just going to lighten this area just a touch. And perhaps, I need to go a bit darker with that shade again over there. It's just that tiny shadow on the side of this person's top here. I just want to get that right. That needs to be right. No, I think that's better. It just looks a little bit, I don't know, it looks a little bit funny to me. That sudden change from dark to light. But if I just merge them together ever so slowly, maybe we'll have something. How's that? A little better? I'm going to soften slightly some of this. Just going to soften it down so it's not so kind of bright and in your face, so to speak. I think that might be a little better on the eye. What do you think? Okay, I'm stopping. I'm going to leave it at that. My friends, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this. I really do. I could kind of tip away with this now if I wanted to, tip away doing little bits and pieces, but I don't really feel I need to. I've achieved what I wanted. I'm fairly happy with all of this. One thing I might do is just rough up the boardwalk slightly, just here and there. It looks a little bit kind of flat. I just want to add maybe just one or two sort of bits of timber overhanging, maybe just even sticking up slightly. I want to make it look like it's very old and rickety, do you know what I mean? So just a little bit, look, just tiny bits popping up. That's a bit better. Thank you so much, my friends. It has been truly a pleasure to paint this today. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed your company. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back very soon with another tutorial. Many wonderful tutorials for 2024. Again, Happy New Year to you all. Thank you so much. Thank you greatly for your support. I sincerely appreciate your support. That's what means everything to me, your support. That you're supporting the channel and you're learning from it. And share the channel, share the links. You know, let's get people painting. Okay. Good night. God bless. And happy painting. See you very soon.